This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about Raw on June 17th. As if this wasn't bad enough, we've somehow found a way to make it worse. Vince is going to open the show. This is just 2 days after Confidential, and he's going to address the Stone Cold Steve Austin situation. He says, we have to move on tonight as a company without Austin. And this segment ends with Vince drinking a beer, saying thank you, and leaving the beer in the middle of the ring. We get through that, and then they start to tease that the man is on his way to the arena. Of course, the tease of the man turns out to be The Rock. And this is all on the network. Rock's going to give a big pep talk to the fans and reference the sacrifice and the guys in the locker room and how they bust their ass for the company. And then in a not very subtle manner says, if you don't want to be in the company, then just like the slogan says, you can get the F out. This is, less than ideal. And it feels like Vince digging his heels in. And I don't know, man, for all the times we've heard that Vince is a genius, and I don't dispute that, this feels like perhaps the worst possible idea. To me, if you've got a problem with your top guy, I don't know that I would want to air the dirty laundry out on Confidential. And I certainly wouldn't want to bring out one of his old professional rivals and have him just shit on him in front of this is a bad idea. Is it not?
Yeah, bad idea. No reason to get Rock implicated in that, because I know, even to this day, Conrad, that Rock and Steve are buddies. They have great respect for each other. You know, I don't think they hang together or run together, especially in the virus years, but they have great respect for each other. Look, they had 3 WrestleMania main events.
But they're also naturally competitive. I mean, when you
I understand that, but Rock's got too much class to go out there and go into business for himself.
Of course.
Without being produced by Vince. And I think Vince is setting that beer in there and thank you was only to set up the thought that maybe Steve's coming back tonight. The man is coming back, because in the vernacular of the wrestling fans in that era, there was only one, the man.
Yeah.
And that was Stone Cold.
In numerous interviews, Austin has referred over the years how Vince would leave him voicemails all the time and he wouldn't return them. And this goes through, not just June, but July and August. And there's a pretty well-known story. Austin even wrote about it in his book. He wrote, I got a card in the mail from JR. He sent me a nice handwritten note that said, I'm here. If you need anything, don't hesitate to call me, JR. And that's when I picked up the phone and called Jim Ross, and we must have talked for 2 hours, because I know I went through 2 cell phones. We talked for 2 straight hours about what was going on, where my life was. And finally he said, is there any way you'd want to meet up with Vince and talk about how things got all screwed up at the end? I know that's not how you would have wanted to finish up. And I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to him and find out why everything happened like it did. And he can ask me the same thing. And JR says, I'll talk to him, see if I can set it up. I'll call you later. So he set up the meeting. And then of course, in the meantime, we've got SummerSlam, and, the meeting happens, I think, when the show comes through Houston, which would have been late September, probably September 30th. And it's set up in a hotel room. I think it's a penthouse in the Westin Hotel. Are you in the room when this meeting happens?
No, that's the one I wouldn't go. I wouldn't, because they wouldn't have been the same.
Right.
They would have been almost in performance mode
for you.
And I would be the audience of one. It would have been nice for my resume to say, well, yeah, I was the guy that brokered the peace between Austin and McMahon, and break my arm, as Monsoon would say, patting myself on the back. But that's not how it was. I took myself out of it to accomplish what we needed to accomplish in that meeting. It had been a long time since those guys were face to face. And I'm telling you something, both emotional guys, Vince and Steve, do you think they want to see me there to see them cry? You think they want to see me there to see them get emotional? Will they be as open and as free flowing and as honest with each other if another person's in the room, especially me? No, they wouldn't have. But for the betterment of the company and McMahon and Austin, I needed to be. I was there in a hotel. I got it all arranged. I did the thing, and I saw Vince all that before the meeting and after. I saw Steve before the meeting and after. I just wasn't in the room, but I did orchestrate that meeting, and it was in a suite at the Hyatt. I think you said Hyatt. And so, and I think they cleared a lot of air in that meeting. I don't think they solved every issue. Everybody left and, with a happy-go-lucky skipping out of the room, but I think they cleared the air a lot, and both guys did what they needed to be doing months prior. They fucking communicated like two grown men. And that's what the goal was, to set that meeting up in the beginning. I was very lucky, Conrad, in that job. And I think I did a lot of good things for WWE. I really did. And I could have done a lot of things better. I want to say that. But that may have been one of the more pivotal things that I've done in my career there, was getting Austin and McMahon back together to at least communicate eye to eye, man to man. No fucking phone messages, no cells, OMG, LOL. Fuck that shit. Don't text me if you need to talk to me. Pick up the goddamn phone, hit the other button, and call me. Let's talk like human beings. In today's generation, hell, that's unacceptable. I got a text. So I'm proud of that moment, and it was a pivotal day in the history of WWE. Let me tell you.
It was a big day. Austin opens up the conversation with Vince by saying, "What happened?" And then once Vince explains and says his piece, Austin writes in his book, and that's when I opened up to him about all my frustrations about what they wanted to do with my character and how it was bullshit, but it didn't clue him in on what was going on with my health. But it ends well. Austin asked the company to help him do some promotional work for some of his personal appearances. Vince, of course, agrees. And then they start talking about, how they could move forward. And eventually we know he comes back in 2003, and they've even discussed it on Austin's podcast that Vince said, "I have to fine you." And he wanted to fine him $650,000. Austin counters for a $250,000 fine, and Vince accepts it. So this walking out on the job cost Austin no less than $250,000. And I'm sure some of our listeners would say, "Well, no, you just said it was 250," but without the promotional vehicle behind him and him being on TV every week, I'm sure his merchandise and royalty checks dipped a little bit, and he's not getting some of the big pay-per-view payoffs, et cetera, but still a $250,000 tax on top of the lost income, pretty substantial.
Yeah. And that was and don't think that message didn't get out to the boys.
Of course.
That was part of the issue, is that you could not allow the precedent to happen. Make this a precedent where a top guy or any guy can walk out, because here's the deal. If an undercard guy had walked out, or somebody that wasn't pivotal to the success at that moment of the company, we'd have fired their ass. You're gone. And you breached your contract. That means you don't get your royalties anymore. So breaching so Steve paying the fine. That's a big hit, man. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he had a chance to make it back and to start fresh. But the other thing it did, as I was about to say, is that Vince, that was conveyed to the locker room. He didn't walk away. He didn't walk out with no penalty. And I think that was a great message. I think that's the same theory that Vince had, way beyond my vision, of why he didn't clue me in on the Montreal screw job. He said, I can't allow you to lose confidence, the locker room to lose confidence in you, where they think you were in collusion with me on this decision I made about Sean and Brett in Montreal. I didn't like it at the time. But over the years, I have understood it. And I respect Vince for doing it that way and protecting me. So I think what he did is protect the locker room and dissuade others from having a mindset about, well, fuck, Austin walked out, I want to walk out too. Well, now here's the consequences there. There's consequences in breaching your contract. And the old WWE contracts, and I'm relatively certain that even today, if you breach, you forfeit all your royalties. If you do not breach and you fulfill all your commitments, I still get royalties from WWE because I didn't breach my contract. I fulfilled all my obligations. Obviously, it's not a lot of money because I'm not, the video stuff here, there, and yon. But the bottom line is I get beer money out of it, but nothing else. And because I kept my commitment. So that was the deal there. You don't want to breach a contract there and then lose your royalties forever, because you walked out, you breached your deal. So it was that $650,000 deal. I had to kind of raise my eyebrows on that one. It's like, whoa, hell, what, just find him $1 million? So, and here's the thing about that is the $250K came out of future earnings. So I don't think Steve had to go write a check for it. He just didn't get the money that he earned.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.